I'm going to share with you, in fact, I might do this during the interview, the amazing letter from Nainai Primary School that is going to take the whole school on the kakoi to Parliament. Whoa, that is so far away from anything to do with an educational curriculum, it's not funny. Well, joining us now on the line is the Associate Energy Minister, Deputy Leader of New Zealand First, Shane Jones. Shane, kia ora, good morning to you.
Hey, kia ora. Morning, folks. Greetings, New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand or Aotearoa, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Waiponamu and all the rest of it.
I was really interested in talking to you, Shane, because I think you have a unique perspective, given where you're from, where you whakapapa to, and I know that issues around the Treaty of Waitangi are hotly contested up in Northland, where you're from. But what you are making of the unfolding, I don't know, drama of the hikoi and the Treaty Principles Bill?
Yeah, well, obviously I go a long way back in this journey. Recently in the New Zealand Herald it was pointed out by Audrey Young that apparently I had been an interpreter in the life of the tribunal in 1986 or 87, and Winston Peters had launched a claim from Ngāti Wai in 1992 and 93. So Winston's been on this journey longer than I, as you well know, 1975. I think he was one of the lawyers who assisted Dame Whina Cooper. But anyway, that aside. So just start with a simple fact. This bill is not going to pass and become law.
No.
This bill will not be voted on by the National Party or ourselves to become law. But it's the idea under the bill. And if you consider where we've been, just give me a couple of minutes, mate. If you consider where we've been over the last 50 years, we created an institution and basically authorized it to uncover the meaning of the treaty in the context of stated claims or grievances. And the explanation tool was to establish what principles ought to guide activity between the tribes and the Crown. And those principles would be elucidated from studying the history and the purpose of the treaty in modern day world. Okay. And what David's doing is saying, okay, that game is over. Insofar as the treaty, through principles, is to have any relevance in the affairs of the state as they relate to Māori citizens, only these group of principles, which will be distilled and will be prioritised, are to govern the underlying conduct when Māori try and relate on the basis of the treaty to the government. That's kind of what he's doing. So he's moving away from there. Sadly, the people that are coming to Wellington, they're no longer interested in the principles of the treaty bill. They may say they are. They're all about what they call mana motuhake and various other old-time Māori expressions, which approximate a sense of separate nationhood, which approximate a sense of a distinctive sovereignty that ought to be given legal and institutional force so that Māori can govern their own affairs. So that's kind of the dream that they're on about. I think the danger is if it, and people are really pissed off yesterday, excuse my language, in Auckland because their affairs on a day-to-day basis were blighted by the protesters and whatnot. Where the dangerous thing comes, if it turns into a crusade to invalidate the existence of Māori, then we're going to have a far bigger problem in New Zealand because there's just such a huge number of young ones now.
You know David Seymour. Do you think that's what he's about?
I think a lot of the people that are backing David...
that wasn't my question. Do you think that's David Seymour's intention?
No, but the danger is, and David's aware of this, the danger is it'll morph into something quite different because it'll be an unintended consequence.
Yeah, but isn't it more likely to morph into that, Shane, if we have lefty teachers taking their entire schools on the hikoi and woke KCs trying to circumvent democratic parliamentary processes?
Well, yesterday I gave a speech. I just bumped into David 5 minutes ago. And I said, come to Parliament, and Parliament is a place of ideas, and it should never be chilled by loud hysterical voices, whether you hate Shane Jones because of the frogs and the lizards, or whether you abhor David Seymour because of his conception of the treaty. Parliament is paramount. And if we can't debate ideas there, and we can't refine ideas, then in my view, people standing in our way are a threat to democracy.
Well said. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the Prime Minister on Monday, and I was surprised at his response, and I think he was surprised at the response to his response. Is there anything in the Treaty Principles Bill that you like?
Well, the Treaty Principles Bill states that David will respect the honour of the Crown insofar as the existing Treaty of Waitangi settlements that may contain bespoke principles to govern the activity in certain areas between the Crown and treaty and tribes that have settled under the treaty. Well, that's good because that's in our bill, our fast track bill.
Yeah.
And look, to be honest with you,
it also says equality for everyone before the law. Do you like that?
Yeah, and I'm just going to get there.
Yeah.
A number of the principles that David is seeking to distill, they could easily be in a Bill of Rights. They can be traceable back to the Magna Carta. But I think where the thing is now, if it's not marooned or snagged, where the debate is going to go to, is there any legal basis at all for the continuation of a unique, distinctive set of rights enjoyed by Māori over their property that are different from other New Zealanders? And that's a worthy debate, because those rights have now been morphed into rights of veto. For example, I'm struggling to save the Ruapehu ski fields, and every time I do anything, I've got the top officials advising me I have to consult with all sorts of tribes and hapus I've never heard of, and I learnt the language from my grandmother. So I think what's happened that's really peeved off Kiwis is that a sense of veto has grown. And the other thing I'll tell you is Tariana Turia and Helen in the very early 2000s introduced the treaty as a divining rod into the area where you carve up health resources and you carve up social welfare resources. I warned against it at the time, I opposed it at the time, and now that is what haunts us, because Kiwis resent the notion that on the basis of ancestry, that you will be treated differently when you get to the AE.
Yeah.